Good morning, everyone. Sorry, just getting my sound set up here. There we go. A little bit rushed getting started this morning. We are in the final stretch. I have 1 week of school left. Next Wednesday, I will be officially done. I'm kind of sad to say goodbye to this group because they're a really sweet class, but very excited about summer vacation coming up. So today I am creating for you with the Sweetest Cherry stamp set. I need a little bit of sunshine and summer in my life, and I also need a little something for some people at work and everything. So I'm going to switch you guys over to my desktop and we are going to get started. I hope that, I know that lots of you took advantage of the free shipping deal yesterday, so I'm so excited for you. And we now have just a few, today's the 22nd, so we have 8 days left in this month, and so that means that we have 8 days left on the buy one, get one 50% off on our kits, and we have 8 days left on some of the last chance items that are still in place. All right, but today I'm not using any last chance items or any kits. I am working with the Sweetest Cherries. They are so much fun to use. Now, when I first saw them, and as you've seen some of the samples that I've posted, the cards are very fun and cutesy. Today, I want to show you how you can use this stamp set to create something a little bit classier, a little bit more grown up. Now, I have to tell you, I am cheating. I'm not using any of the sentiments in this stamp set, although you could totally use the thank you, and this card would work really, really well. But one of my favorite paper pumpkins is still available on our website. It is the Lots of Puns paper pumpkin kit. So when they sell paper pumpkins, they often put either the refill kits or the whole kit onto our demonstrator website after the fact if they have any extras. And this one is just absolutely adorable. Now, I always take mine and put them, Stampin' Up! Provides these case covers for your stamp set after the fact. And so I always put mine into one of these. So this is what the stamp set actually looks like. And it's just a whole bunch of puns and then some cute little pieces with some faces and everything, a little mustache and all that. But I love the sentiments. So I'm actually going to use the "You Are Cherry Sweet" sentiment from this paper pumpkin instead of any of the sentiments from our Sweetest Cherries. So yeah, if you didn't know that, if you are a paper pumpkin subscriber, I always put mine into the cases. I keep the original instructions from the cards, even though I might not have any of the pieces left, I can always create something similar. And these also always have alternatives on here as well. So I always keep the paper from the paper pumpkin, the stamp set from the paper pumpkin, and then any extra bits that I have. So I don't have many bits left. The kids actually used this kit this year to create their dad's Father's Day cards. So I've got just the "You Are Cherry Sweet" from that Lots of Puns paper pumpkin that is still available, you guys. And now let's just get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have cut a piece of basic white cardstock using my absolute, so useful stitched rectangles. So you get a ton of rectangles, different shapes. I've used this, it's the fifth one out, or the fourth largest of the rectangles. And I actually had a kid do these. I just gave him a stack of paper and said cut. And so I have a stack of these stitched ones all ready to go for multiple projects. So I've got this little stitched rectangle and we're going to stamp some cherries on here. So I'm going to use Poppy Parade ink. Oh, that's such a bad glare. There we go. I'm going to use Poppy Parade ink as the base for my cherries. And then I'm actually going to use a sponge dauber to add some cherry cobbler to our cherries, because they have that, especially late summer, they have that deep red, almost black look to them. So I'm going to ink up with Poppy Parade, grab my little sponge dauber, and I love this because I don't get my fingers inky. So tap that into my cherry cobbler, And then I'm going to do just the tiniest bit up by the, like their little highlight. And then the whole other side, I'm going to just run along the corners, like along the edge, to create like a darker shadowish kind of look. And then I'm going to stamp this guy kind of to the bottom left. There we go. And so you can see that cherry now, it doesn't have that playful, like kids card look. It's got like a real richness to it. Now, I love this set because although I love masking, I don't have to mask with this set. They've created a second cherry for me that's already cut perfectly that I can hide him behind the first one. All right, so I'm going to ink this one up in Poppy Parade as well. And grab my cherry cobbler, and again, just a little bit up by that divot that they've created for us, and then all along this bottom edge, and a little along the top. Now I am avoiding that spot where they're overlapping because this is going behind, and so I don't actually need it to look darker there because it's hiding behind the cherry. There we go. So 2 beautiful cherries stamped on there, and they've got like a real deep richness to them. I'll put those inks off to the side for now. I'm going to use my Poppy Parade one more time though, and I am going to stamp my stems. Now there is a correct way to stamp this stem, but because I want them twisting and turning towards each other, I'm actually going to stamp them in both directions. So this time I'm using the wider base down at my cherry. And then for this one, because I want it to curve the other way, I'm just turning it around. And in fact, I believe this is the correct way because it's got a bigger like part where it would attach to the tree. But you know what? It looks fine both ways, and then it allows me to have the curve that I'm looking for. All right. Now I'm going to bring in some Granny Apple Green ink. And I am going to stamp my leaf just on the one stem. All right. And I tried it with more and it just looked busy. So just one leaf. And then I'm bringing back my early espresso ink that I used for my stem. And I'm going to add a little detail to that leaf. So yeah, they even have the little like line drawing leaf center, which is just fabulous. So this is a little bit, my camera's a little bit far away, so I'm just going to bring this up and show you like how rich that looks and not like childish at all, which, well, childish isn't the right word, but you know, it just, I should have done a little bit more shading along that one edge of the cherry to really delineate the two, but that's okay. I might actually, at risk of wrecking this, put a little, there we go, a little definition there between the two. All right. That didn't quite work how I wanted. All right, I'm actually going to pop in here and grab, I don't have a Poppy Parade right on hand, so I'm going to grab my Sweet Sorbet. And I'm going to kind of do a very light line there. I could have stamped these further apart to delineate that, or I could have actually used my cherry cobbler to sponge that edge to get it to really stay separate, but that works. Okay, so we've got our cherries stamped and they're looking way more realistic than anything I've seen so far with these stamps. So I'm really, really happy with that. I wanted this to be a bit more of a grown-up card. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is, because I stamped our cherries with Poppy Parade, I'm going to grab a piece of Poppy Parade cardstock. This is cut at 4 1/4 by 1 1/2. And I'm going to grab that awesome basket weave stamp from the Sweetest Cherries set. And I'm going to bring back my Poppy Parade ink. And I'm going to stamp this. Now, because I cut this at 1 1/2 instead of 1 3/8, I am not actually able to stamp this way because it'll leave a border on both sides, and I don't want that. So I'm going to stamp it up and down. But it's okay because I actually don't even need to stamp all the way across this piece. I just need to stamp the two ends because this is actually going to go behind our cherries. So not a worry that I can't go all the way across. All right. Now, if you were doing something, this would also, you could fit this. I would have continued along and it would be fine. But I actually don't need to stamp the center of mine, so I'm not going to. All right. So we've got that done. We've got our cherries stamped. I'm going to grab just a regular thick basic white cardstock base. This is something else that I get my kids to do when I get my thick basic white cardstock. They score it down the middle, cut it in half, and I have a giant stack of them always sitting beside me. So I'm going to fold that in half, and I'm going to find my bone folder. I'm getting better at not using my nails. I've done some pretty good damage to my hands with some of the things I do in crafting. I'm trying to use tools more instead of my hands. So this piece, we're going to glue it right across the center of our thick basic white cardstock. And if you've watched my videos, you know that I will be using actual liquid glue. It's my preferred adhesive. I know lots of people struggle with it. But I guess all those years of being an elementary student and then an elementary student teacher, I have just become really accustomed to liquid glue. Okay, there we go. So that's glued down. Now I'm going to grab my cherries. I'm going to put dimensionals on the back and pop this up on our card front. So I like to do a dimensional in each corner, as well as one in the center. You can pop these on however you'd like. Okay, so here we go. So pop that down and try and get it as centered as possible. That's not my forte, but I'll give it my best go. All right, so we've got our base started. Now we need to add a sentiment, and this is where I'm bringing in, instead of like a thank you, which you could totally do, just ink up the thank you on this one. Instead, I'm going to bring in the You Are Cherry Sweet from that Lots of Puns paper pumpkin. And I'm also just going to grab, I keep a bin of scraps. I don't know if I've ever shown you guys this actually. Anytime I'm cutting paper and I end up with a 1/2 inch scrap, I don't put it back in with its correct color. I throw it into my scrap bin. And then I always have, in like all the colors, these great little 1/2 inch strips to stamp sentiments and stuff. So this one is a 1/2 inch by like, I don't know, 3 1/4, 3 1/2. It was just a scrap I had. And I'm going to use my embossing buddy on it first. Now, you guys, this isn't available yet, unless you're a demonstrator. But in our new mini catalog that goes live on July 1st, we have an embossing tools kit. You get the embossing buddy, you get a small little paintbrush for removing little flecks of embossing powder. You get reverse tweezers. Hi, Lila. Oh, thank you. You get reverse tweezers, and you get the tray that I always use to hold my embossing powder. Yeah, I'm a mess. I just leave my white embossing powder out all the time because I use it every day. All right, so now that I've wiped this down with my embossing buddy, I'm going to ink up my sentiment with a Versamark. And so this is just like a clear ink. And then I'm going to stamp this kind of to the right. Not entirely. I want a little bit of space, but to the right-ish. There we go. And so I've stamped that. Put away my ink. And now with my awesome little tray here, I'm just going to dip this into my white embossing powder. And now, see, this is where the little paintbrush comes in handy. Where's mine? Because I clearly got some ink or something on here, and I've got this little, just so you guys know, this isn't the paintbrush you're going to get. I just have like a whole bunch of paintbrushes all over the place. Now, the other thing that I sometimes do, because I've got one little piece here that's really tiny, is I use my Take Your Pick tool. There's a singular grain. It's probably not even embossing powder. It's probably The one disadvantage to keeping your embossing powder open in a tray like this is sometimes you get things in here that aren't embossing powder. All right, so now that's looking really nice. I'm going to set that to the side, and I'm going to bring in my heating tool. And so this is where you would hold this with your reverse twizzers. Oh my goodness, tweezers. I have no idea where mine are right now. My office, well, it's June. June is a teacher. Everything's a disaster here. So I'm just going to heat this up. There we go. So that one's all. Good morning, Cindy. That one's all heat embossed now. So we've got our sweet little Jun-uary sweet. And I'm going to grab my Banners Pick-a-Punch. And I love this one because it does two different sizes, or sorry, two different angles and three different sizes, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch. So I'm just going to go, come on, pop that in to the groove for 1/2 inch. There are actually like grooves in here, so you pop your paper into the right groove. Oops, I didn't do that very well though. I'm going to do that one more time. Try and get that straight. There we go. Much better. All right. So I've used that to trim that down and find all the flying bits. There we go. Now this little piece we're going to attach to the front of our card just like that. Now, to get this on and have it be nice and stable, I'm going to use two different sizes of dimensionals. I'm going to use a large dimensional up at the top, and then I'm going to use these mini ones and make sure I'm doing it on the correct side, just really close up to the one edge, because I want them to be off of my popped up rectangle. So now I'll peel those backings off. And to actually adhere this to my card, I'm going to pick up my card, hold this from the edges, and kind of slide it in till I feel those dimensionals touching the side of my rectangle. And then I'll pop it in place like that. So that's just how I make sure they don't end up on top of the stitch rectangle and adding too much height. So now this is all one height, which is quite nice. So we're almost finished our card. The last thing to do is to add a few embellishments, and I wanted to keep this really classic, really clean. So I'm actually using the rustic, what are they called? Rustic metallic adhesive back dots. So these ones are the ones that were featured with the Here's the Man suite. And so these are what I'm using because they go so nicely with the early espresso. They don't take away from the pop of red on my cherries. And they're just, yeah, they're just subtle and classy. So I've used a lot of them, as you can see. Always, I love these. They're so beautiful because they are that rustic look. And that is our finished card. Now, of course, I do not like to have a naked envelope. So we are going to do a little bit of stamping. Oh, see if I can find an envelope. Oh, I did just order a bunch, but I haven't got everything unpacked and into its proper place yet. So we are going to do a little bit of stamping on our envelope. And so I'm actually going to grab a scrap paper for this. Oh, I know, Cindy, they're the best. They just go with everything. I don't know. So I'm going to grab a scrap paper and I'm going to fold it just like that. So I've got this, my envelope can fit all the way in. We were learning about clouds at school. Made too many copies. All right, so my envelope fits in, so it's just my flap showing now. And I actually don't want to put red on my envelope. I think it's going to be just a little too wild and crazy. So instead, I'm going to clean up. I have chamois somewhere. There we go. I'm going to clean up this this basket weave, and we're actually going to stamp it on the outside of our envelope in early espresso, just to kind of keep things a little bit muted. And so I'm just going to ink that up, and let's see, I'm going to start in this direction. So I am going to have to stamp this multiple times, of course, to cover the whole thing. So I am going to also try to keep the pattern going and keep it all in line. So as long as I just continue in the same direction along here, that will allow the pattern to continue. And then I'm going to turn this to do, there's still just a little edge that I haven't done. Now here, I'm going to have to be a bit more careful because I'm going to actually have to watch where I'm lining this up, because I'm trying to, if the stripes were horizontal, oops, I overlapped it, darn it. If the stripes are horizontal, I will now want them vertical and vice versa. And then that one's a little bit way off. There we go. Third time's a charm. It's just the envelope, so nobody's going to be looking that carefully. And when we pull this out, we have a cool thatched envelope. I know early espresso is my new black. I'm like, I don't know, it just seems too dark for this time of year. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I actually want to soften that a little bit. So I'm going to grab a blending brush. I have recently added to my blending brush collection, added 3 more brushes. So I now have a black, a brown, and a white. All right, and we're just going to blend really softly over top of this. This is early espresso ink still that I'm using to blend over this, to just take some of that edge off of the stark white on early espresso, or early espresso on white. All right, so just take away a little bit of that starkness, and voila, it looks like we have our own cute little basket. And so that's going to go with our card, and that is it. Oops, flipped it over so you guys can't see it. There we go. So there is our card and envelope completed. So it's a really quick, easy card, but it really steps up that Sweetest Cherries and makes it feel a little bit more mature. All right. So thank you so much for joining me today for this card. I also wanted to let you know that I do run a monthly club, a card club, and it's one of those things you can go all in, or you can kind of just do it when you want to. My July club is featuring this Sweetest Cherries, and you just need to place an order between now and July 15th using my host code, and you'll be able to get in on that July club and have that all cut up and sent to you, all the pieces. And then we have a little video and everything. And oh, don't worry, you can watch the replay. And if joining a club isn't your thing, you can just join in the months that interest you. And it's just with a $35 or more order using my particular host code for that club. Gets you an entry, but there is a perk to sticking around, filling in my club form and doing the 6 months. And that is that at the end of the 6 months, you actually get $20 host rewards. I have an ink pad for you. And so there's perks to sticking around for 6 consecutive months. So yeah, check it out. There's a link in the description to this video. And I hope you loved that card. I will photograph it and post photos and everything either later today or tomorrow. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. It's really cloudy and gross here today, so I think I'm going to stamp for the rest of my day. Around all the kids stuff, drumming lessons and all that. But yeah, have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining me. And hopefully this week I'm going to get on to show you guys the June paper pumpkin as well. Mine didn't arrive until late. I didn't get it till Monday or Tuesday, I think. So I don't know. I wasn't able to do my Friday night video, which was fine because I was busy writing report cards still. But yeah, so hopefully this week I'll get on with that. And then don't forget to check out the last chance items. There's some great deals, you guys, 50% off stuff, like unreal deals. Check that out before the end of the month. Bye. Thank you. I'm looking forward to the end of school.